We're going to be looking at crime statistics, how they're interpreted, and why we can't always trust them. So, crime statistics are known to be the tip of the iceberg. If any of you go on to study sociology or criminology, you'll look at this in a lot more detail. Remember, if a crime has occurred, it has to be reported to the police. Not all of those crimes are going to be reported. Then the police have to record them. And then there has to be a criminal conviction. Someone has to get found guilty. That then becomes a crime statistic. So the vast amount of crime is hidden. We don't know anything about it. It might not have even been reported to the police, let alone have got a conviction. So there's an awful lot of crime out there that we don't see in our statistics. One way we can get our statistics then, other than by using official statistics, is using something called crime surveys. And we have something that comes out regularly called the British Crime Survey. What this does is it asks a stratified selection of the population about their personal experiences of crime. It then uses that to generate crime statistics for the UK. The issue is with this, of course, is that people might lie. They might want to sound interesting, so discuss a crime that's not actually happened to them. Or they might be embarrassed and not want to talk about a crime that's happened to them. Some of them may not know that they've experienced that crime. They might be the victim of online fraud, or they might be the victim of racial slurs and not realise that these are crimes. So again, crime surveys, they give us a different interpretation, but we can't say they're fully accurate. So to start with then, can crime statistics be trusted? You've got to think about where our information comes from. If we just read the Sun newspaper, is that really telling us the truth? We've looked at media bias before, and we know that sometimes lots of stories are overblown just to sell a newspaper. The British Crime Survey is what we've already spoken about. Or even if you go to the police, could you be getting statistics of somebody who's trying to push a new programme? Maybe they're really going to over exaggerate the amount of drugs in your area if they want to push through a programme on anti-drugs. A new type of crime, newish, will be internet crime. So it's quite obvious why this is only a recent problem. The big issue with internet crime is that there's no overall governing body to monitor in it. There are some ways that you can report things that happen online. Do you know any of them? So have a think about the way society's changed. Do you think all types of crime elicit the same reaction from the public? For example, if you heard that a child had been attacked or had been abused, that's much more likely to get a really big reaction than, say, it had happened to an adult, or say that a company director had fraudulently claimed money for himself from his business. That's not really very interesting, is it? But if we hear something juicy, we tend to listen to it a lot more, and the public gets a lot more scared, gets a lot more anxious, and it creates a lot more media hype. And again, that explains why some crimes and criminals are more likely to be reported and why. You've also got to think about different people who are reported in all of this. Remember, if the media are on an anti-immigrant slant, then they might over-publish crimes that have been committed by immigrants, or other groups of society can be targeted as well. Recent local, national or global crimes that's changed society. A big one to think about with this is terrorism. So if you think about the Manchester bombings or the London bombings, that had huge implications on concert security, on things like Christmas markets when they put more bollards up and things like that to stop terrorist events happening. If we look at the statistics of criminals, we've looked at these before, but lots of criminals who are convicted, and remember these are the ones we know about, haven't really had the best start in life. Could this be something to think about? Is this the reason why we're finding out about these criminals? Are there other criminals who just have got the means to hide it a bit better? Who knows? The last thing I want you to think about was something called a moral panic. In the 1970s and 80s, there was a huge push by things like the Sun newspaper on young black people being seen as muggers. Mugging is a made-up term. It just means burglary from a person. Basically, the newspapers presented it as an issue that young black males were going around mugging little old ladies, old white ladies. It really over exaggerated this, got the public all worked up, and they begin to see second generation immigrants as criminals. The issue was, though, it goes a bit deeper than this. Some sociologists have argued that it was more to do with covering up what was going on in society at the time. There was a big economic dip in the UK during this time. Could it have been to refocus the people's attention away from the government and onto the other? That's one sociological argument. I'll leave you to make your mind up. What I will leave you with, though, is the fact that all crime statistics have to be treated with caution.